community that is a place where I get to meet this guy and her, and be influenced by what I'm learning from other people. To me, that's, I would say, just as important as, and I definitely in the future, I think, there are Armenian themes and issues that I'd like to be a part of making films about. But more than what they're about, where they come from in terms of a film community or an artistic community, that I think as well as you, I think the more we can help promote that, because I'm sure there's 25 Armenian filmmakers out there that aren't doing anything or aren't writing a screenplay because it's so tough. But to know, oh, here's a film festival or here's a playwright competition that I could have a shot at winning a prize or that kind of encouragement, I think
gives them a direction.
Yeah, we'll create more artists that are Armenian, which is just as important as making art that's about Armenians. So.
We often sort of struggle with this issue. If you're an Armenian, do you have to work on Armenian themes, or do you just go out there and do what you like, and then just because you are an Armenian and you do well, that brings a lot of notoriety to Armenians as well. It's a tough issue. Cora, how do you feel about that? Obviously, your film's very Armenian, filmed in Armenia, with an Armenian crew, written in Armenian.
Well, I don't know. The thing is, this is an Armenian film, but I believe it's just a story. This story could have been in Africa. I mean, it doesn't have a very...
No, it couldn't.
No, it couldn't?
It's very Armenian.
There's no Armenians who mistake dead people?
Yeah. Drop pianos.
I myself, I count myself as a storyteller, and I just like to tell interesting stories to people. I love being an Armenian director. I would love all my life to make Armenian movies, but I believe that's not going to happen all the time because it's very hard to make an Armenian movie, and because our audience is very small. But if the time comes, if I want to make American movie, I will glad to do it, but I will not forget the Armenian themes that we have. Because in the future, I really, really want to make an Armenian historical film. That's one of mine and my dad's dream, to make a film together, an Armenian historical film. And we do have very interesting historical stories that we can tell to the world that people don't know. So that's one of my goals in the future. So.
Great, and I think that he brought up an interesting subject. It's hard for the filmmakers to be supported by an audience because our audience is so small. And so, Carla, I don't know if you can talk to that with streamers. I mean, you can sort of fill an auditorium for a week maybe, but then it just gets hard because we just don't have the audience. And so then we don't get the funding to make that particular film. So it's just really hard to make Armenian films, and so filmmakers move on and make more general films. But did you find that with your film when you were screening it around the country?
Well, it's the case of a documentary as opposed to a feature film. And documentaries, they usually don't have a lot of money to spend on press and advertising. So unless you're marching penguins, you're going to have to really work hard to communicate to people that they need to go see those movies in the first 2 weeks. They're not going to be there a month from now. Whereas usually a feature film will stick around for a while. But even a lot of people find even then that they say, oh, I'm going to go see that movie, and then find it's not in the movie theaters, 2 weeks later. So it's partly about appealing to mentality. But I think I agree with Gore. It's about telling good stories, and then it doesn't matter who the audience is, if they're Armenian or not. It is about appealing to and making stories, films of such a good quality that the craftsmanship and the storytelling of the film like Gore's is, I think it is universal. I mean, the humor is universal, and I think it actually could be an African story, having been African. So, I mean, it's that kind of small town feeling, but it's not a small town, it's a big city. But it's that those themes are repeated everywhere in the world, and humor is such a wonderful way. I mean, I just feel uplifted by seeing that film because, you know, it's such a wonderful way to communicate across national, ethnic, racial barriers. It's a way to speak, and what a wonderful gift we have to have, you know, a filmmaker like this who can, you know, use that language of comedy to reach out to people. I mean, more people will know about Armenians through this movie probably because they've laughed than anything else. That's really great.
So I think that the point we're coming to, that it's just really important to tell a good story and make a quality piece of work, and hopefully if there's some Armenian theme in there, that's great, but if it isn't, at least our Armenian filmmakers are making it out there and doing well. Is that something you guys agree? Yeah. Okay, well I think that's really important for audiences to hear too, because everyone kind of expects, you know, oh, you're Armenian, make an Armenian film, write an Armenian play, but it's difficult because the audience does not sustain that kind of work, so it's hard, and we have to move in different directions. But that's all I really wanted us to talk about, and if you guys have any questions, let's go ahead and ask our filmmakers questions. Yes, David?
I'd like to know what AGAA and panelists are going to do when someday the Turks get enough money to come up with a Hollywood blockbuster that shows Armenians committed genocide against Turks.
Thanks, David.
What is the organization and Armenian filmmakers prepared to do then? Because they're probably going to do it. They're going to get back.
Well, Carla and I are going to make documentaries about
Well, I mean, I think that's a really good, I'm going to jump in on that one. I think that's a good question, and it's a totally credible possibility there. I mean, what you're suggesting. And I think part of the answer is to be politically prepared, and for our community, I think our community has shown itself in the last year that they're, you know, we've sort of woken up for some unfortunate reasons like Hrant Dink's murder, that the denial is real, it's out there, there's money, there's millions of dollars behind it, and that was a wake-up call to our community. I'm not saying that everybody we needed to see that and hear that for us to realize that there are some real obstacles out there. So I think that I think we're prepared more than we've been prepared before. I also think that it's not within the realm of, well, it is within the realm of possibility that we'll see a feature film about one of our stories, you know. So I don't rule out that Musa Dağ will be made one day, and I don't rule out that there will be other films, you know, stories that will tell our story, like the fact that Lark Farm is out there is very good. There will be, it's such a strong story, the genocide is such a strong story that I think that there will be something coming from our side. But to answer your question, I'd like to think that we will be able to combat it, and that it won't just come from the Armenian community. The trick is that it comes from other communities and American citizens and Europeans and all of that, and that they won't stand for that nonsense. But you know, who knows? Who knows?
I have a little anecdotal story that I'll tell you that kind of says something to this. I did this movie last year, or that was here last year, with Kirk Douglas, and working with him, he told me that years ago he was approached to play Ataturk in a film about Ataturk, and he said he refused to do it and made sure that the film was never made. So I think that, definitely that what you said could happen, but I think the education of artists, or the awareness of artists in Hollywood or wherever,